Let's talk about quadratic functions. A simple way to think about quadratic is anything with an x squared term. The simplest quadratic function is y equals x squared. Remember, the x is your input and the y is your output. We are going to try out different values of x as inputs to see what values of y come out as outputs. An easy number to try is 0. If you plug in a 0 for x, y will equal 0 times itself, 0 squared. We replaced our x with 0, so y equals 0 squared, or 0 times itself. 0 times 0 is 0, so if x equals 0, y equals 0. Let's try another. If we plug in 1 for x, y will now equal 1 squared. 1 times 1 is 1. So when x equals 1, y equals 1 also. Let's try a few more. What if we make x 2? Y equals x squared will become y equals 2 squared, and 2 times itself is 4. So when x equals 2, y equals 4. When x equals 3, y equals 9. When x equals 4, y equals 16. And hopefully you can see the pattern from here. What will about y be if x equals 5? Y will be 25, because 5 times itself is 25. For every input we put in, we square it, and that gives us the output. You square all of your inputs, and you end up with your outputs. But what about with negative numbers? A negative number times itself is a positive number, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. And so on. What y values will we get when we plug in negative 4 and negative 5 as our x value? We get 16 and 25. So, what is a quadratic function? Pretty much anything with an x squared term in it, for our purposes. What's the simplest quadratic function? It's y equals x squared. If an input squared will give you your output. If we plug in values for x, our output, y values, will always be the same number squared. And what we notice is that our negative numbers squared are also positives. So negative 5 and positive 5 both give us the same output of 25. Same with negative 4 and 4, 3 and negative 3, etc.